welcome to another episode of Learn to Speak the Language of Your Body. I am your host, Maria Daniels, and today I'm joined by the lovely Nicole Stout. Nicole and I met, what has it been, like a couple weeks now at this point? I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I said earlier, I don't even know what day it is until a little bit ago. So it wasn't that long ago, but we chatted for quite a while about her story, and I thought it was super inspiring, and I really wanted to have her on to let her kind of share the details of kind of her own journey through misdiagnosis and self-advocacy on her part to be able to find the diagnosis that she really needed to be able to get on the right path to wellness. And I'm going to let her jump in and introduce herself and kind of start us down the road of this journey.
So my name's Nicole Stout, and in my 20s, I started having really bad headaches and passing out and feeling dizzy and just all these like crazy symptoms. My limbs would go numb. I like a lot of twitching. My body would like twitch, and my muscles would do things without me like warranting them. And I made tons of hospital visits and saw, doctor after doctor, and there was just no answer for what was going on. And I kept being told that it was my period, or, you know, I needed to see a psychologist, or all these different things. And that, the bills would roll in. It was like test after test. And it really kind of made me depressed because I would like not finding not that I wanted them to find something, but not having somebody listen to me as far as a medical professional goes kind of gave me like, it caused me depression and anxiety because I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I feeling this? But you can't really like tune it out when something's wrong. My body just kept yelling at me like something is not right. So you just got to keep pushing.
No, absolutely. Well, and I think, there's a lot of people that I've spoke with kind of with a similar story, sadly, that they knew something was up. Their body is trying to tell them that something is
Mm-hmm.
just not right. They're going and having testing done, and the test is coming back that nothing is wrong. And, so then the next thing that happens is, they're told that it's probably anxiety or depression or this or that. And, it ends up with people feeling that they even question themselves, like maybe it is all in my head, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong, and it causes this whole other host of issues. And the problem is large. We can talk about the kind of the brokenness in the system all day long, but really what I want to kind of like hone in on today just is, you mentioned it earlier, just the importance of listening to your body, because our body doesn't speak English, it speaks
Mm-hmm.
symptoms, right? And so our body is trying to tell us something all day long, and it could be something minor, right? It could be like, oh my gosh, my head hurts, I have a headache. And you have the choice on, okay, well, I can like pop a aspirin to make my headache go away, or I can try to figure out, why do I have a headache?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to drink some water? Am I sitting like a shrimp? Like what's going on? And the body has no way of like saying anything, so it has to speak in symptoms. So I love that you mentioned that, because it's so important for people that are listening to understand that your body better than anybody knows your body. And it's important that if you really feel that there's something going on, that that it is okay to keep trying to figure out, what is going on. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit of, you know, different medical professional, like how many medical professionals did you have to see before you finally figured out what
Oh
was
my gosh. I mean, I have seen so many, so many. If we count back from when I was in high school, when the first time I passed out and they never found anything, um, and then I saw the neurologist when after my son was born, and I moved back from Massachusetts. I like walked in this neurologist's office, and I was like, I swear I've been here before. I was like, this is either like really weird deja vu, or I've actually been here before. And so I went up to the counter, and I had been there before, and so they dismissed me like years prior. And it's like, okay, so this has been an ongoing issue. We're not finding any answers. They would send me from, the nurse practitioner would be like, well, you have to go see the doctor, or insurance wants you to do this. I saw, neurologists, I saw psychiatrists, I saw cardiologists, because it's like, well, this isn't telling here what to do, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
signals aren't being sent properly. And then, so it's like cardiologist. I saw a urologist. I have a thoracic surgeon. There's the brain surgeon. I mean, we've been through so many, so many doctors in hospitals. I mean, I've been to like Bethesda around here. Um, what's the one in Jewish Hospital, Christ, Mercy. I mean, it was like over and over, because my heart would feel like it was stopping and I couldn't breathe. And that's so terrifying. I'm sure anxiety played a part in it, because like when you have these symptoms, you're just like, what's going on? But it also would
Yeah.
always feel like something was like stuck in my throat. So they were like checking my thyroid. It was just like, I saw an endocrinologist. And it was just, everything would always come back normal. As far as like blood work, they kept giving me CT scans every time I go to the hospital, but my condition doesn't show up on a CT scan. It only shows up on an MRI. So it was like constantly being missed. And I even asked for an MRI one day, and they were like, we don't just do MRIs.
Yeah.
And so they were like, insurance was like, you have to go here, or you have to try this medication. They put me on like Imitrex, and then that had like serious side effects that actually like made it worse for me, because Imitrex constricts the blood vessels, and I already had a
Mm-hmm.
blockage. And so it was making it just 10 times worse. But it was just crazy. It was wild. It took almost a year, of
Yeah.
every day going to the doctor to even, figure out anything. And not to mention, it made it hard for work. It made it hard for
Yeah.
my family financially. I mean, it was just, there's a lot of stress that goes into it.
So do you care to share with listeners kind of what your diagnosis is, so maybe they can, kind of get an idea of what all you've got
Yeah.
going on, as much as or as little as you're comfortable sharing? And then, also, what were your symptoms? Because that's the funny thing about symptoms, is sometimes they can be symptoms for lots of different things, which is
Mm-hmm.
why it can confuse medical professionals. That's understandable. But it's also, again, that's the way our body is telling us something.
Right. Absolutely. So I have what's called Arnold-Chiari malformation. So it's a defect in the back of the brain. It's actually not rare or uncommon. It's just a lot of people don't know that they have it. Sometimes it can be triggered. Some people have symptoms from birth, and some don't. It can be triggered. You could have it, not know it, and get in a car accident, and it could be triggered. Giving birth can trigger it, and I have two kids. But it causes a wide range of symptoms. And what happens is the foramen in the back, when your heart beats, those brain tonsils, they piston down in there with each heartbeat. And so it's already like protruded through there. And so it causes a blockage. So the cerebral spinal fluid can't flow around the brain properly. And that's actually how signals like get sent from like throughout our body. And so when I would move a certain way, like my neurosurgeon, he said like some fluid would get through. And so my symptoms would be really sporadic. Like my leg would go numb, or I couldn't stand. And then, it wouldn't be like that constantly. So it made it really hard for doctors to like believe me, because they were just such a wide array of symptoms. You got like the headaches. I would get I felt like I had to like constantly clear my throat. Like food would get stuck, like I couldn't swallow. Like I said, my heart would act up. There'd be like, the very first symptom I had was I kept dropping everything with my left hand. And like these two fingers were totally numb. Like you could stab me with a needle and I wouldn't feel anything. And then like I kept telling my husband, I was like, I just can't, I can't grip anything. And like we kept thinking I was having like stroke symptoms. Like it was like the left side of my body. My face would go numb and twitching like on the side. And I would sometimes, when I would like turn my head a certain way, I would get this like electric shock pain that would come from like here straight down, and the left side of my tongue would go numb. And we told my chiropractor about it, and he was like, that sounds like a mini stroke, And so it was like, I was like, that's really scary. And it would like linger for a second.
Like a mini stroke in his
And I was like, I am too young to be like to have this. And so we got all that like finally figured out, by the grace of God. And then found out that I had a chest wall deformity called pectus excavatum. And so my sternum and rib cage were sunken in, and it was pressing against my heart. And sorry, my daughter's at the door. Hang on one second.
No, you're good.
And it was causing like my heart couldn't beat fully, and so it was causing like my blood wouldn't pump right, and so I was passing out. Hi, baby. And so that made that really difficult, and like I couldn't even walk up the stairs, and so I couldn't play with the kids. They were little. I just like couldn't do anything, and I was like, this is not the life that I want. It was hard to like get online and see like all my friends doing things and everybody's living their life, and I just had a hard time getting out of bed. Nobody seemed to understand. People would be like, are you sure you're not depressed, or you're just anxious? Or I had a stressful job at the time, but I was like, I've been through some stressful things in life, and I was like, these symptoms just aren't, this isn't right. The back of my head, right back here at the base, it felt like somebody had a blowtorch back there. Like it just burned so bad. I mean, it was just awful.
Well, and I'm sure finally getting a diagnosis, having a name, having something that you can say, okay, this is what it is. Here's what I need to do. I'm sure that was almost like a relief, right?
Yeah. I mean, not that you want anything to be wrong. Yeah. But I was just like, I remember just crying, and I was like, I knew I wasn't crazy. Like, I mean, maybe a little bit. If you ask my husband, I'm probably, he'd probably disagree with me
a little bit.
But it just, when you finally come to the realization that there's an actual legit reason that what you're feeling is going on, it's like the biggest relief in the world.
Absolutely.
I mean, and then it gives you hope, because you're like, I can, hopefully I can get this taken care of, and I can get my life back. Well,
and let's talk a little bit about that. So, I mean, from the time that you were able to get the diagnosis and you kind of had at least a direction that you needed to go, how long did it take until you were able to start kind of feeling okay again?
I mean, it was a few years, to be honest with you, because the brain surgery was really rough. And then you have to recover from that. And then, there's like, you have all your restrictions that you can't do. And then the chest surgery was a year later, and that was so much harder than the brain surgery. You don't realize that when all these like muscles get torn. I don't know if anybody listening's ever had like a bruised rib or a broken rib. Yeah. It's like really painful.
Yeah.
Well, this procedure, they use a crane, and they like hook it in, and you're strapped down, and they like lift it up immediately. And so everything gets torn, and I couldn't lift my arms. It was just like, I couldn't drive, like you can't do anything. And so I had to rely on everybody to kind of do stuff for me for a while. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you can't wash your own hair or shower yourself, or, cook your own food or take care of your kids. Or, I mean, it's just, that is a lot. For being in my 20s, I felt so defeated.
And let's fast forward to now, because I know that now you're very active, and I'll let people kind of share that with people. Because I mean, I don't want this to only be like, oh my gosh, this is really terrible, because that's the thing with a diagnosis is, yes, you can have a diagnosis. It can be like a punch in the gut. You can go through a whole lot of things, but the key is to be heard by medical professionals, be able to listen to your body, and to be able to live a life, right? And let's talk a little bit about how that's going now.
Well, as humans, like, we need a purpose every single day to get up. When we don't have that purpose, or we don't have something that fulfills us, we get really discouraged, and it's easy to kind of lay around and just scroll social media, or, not be productive. Like, nobody wants to, it's really hard to be productive. Nobody likes getting up early, but it's something that I've kind of taught myself to do. And I started, I got into the gym. Excuse me, I really love the gym. I just couldn't be active before. And so I feel like I've missed out on being active for so long that I just don't want to stop now. And so I just have so much fun, like, seeing what my body can do. It's really just incredible. And so I decided that I was going to try to compete. And so last June, I competed in Utah, and I won my bikini show. We got 3 gold medals. And so now I'm nationally qualified and doing nationals this coming June. And I decided to go back to school. So I've been in school the last 3 years, and I am headed into my final semester of dental hygiene school Tuesday. So I'm very excited and nervous all at the same time.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do great. And I mean, I love that not only did you get active again, which I think is great, but then you decided to really kind of say, well, what can my body do? I'm going to take this all the way. Yeah. Because, I think that's important for people to understand, because no matter where you're at in your journey, and maybe you've got some symptoms going on, you're not sure what it is, you've gone to the doctor and it's nothing, and maybe it's just a lifestyle, maybe you need
Right.
deficiencies or whatever. It's not always worst case scenario, but if your body's giving you symptoms, it's something, right? And I think
Right.
that's the key. The body doesn't give symptoms for no reason. It gives symptoms for a reason. And it's up to us to try to decipher what is that reason. And, if you're kind of filling in the blanks on all the other things, and that the body keeps giving you those symptoms
Mm-hmm.
again, that really is trying to tell you that there's something else going on that you need to, go get checked out or figure out what else is, going on. And that can be a journey, especially, like in your case where the tests are not always going to show up as, hey, there's something going on, right?
Correct.
Some of these things that go on in the body, it takes very particular tests. Some things that they test for, they're looking for a specific normal quote unquote range. And
Oh, those ranges are just,
yeah,
it's not optimal for people,
exactly.
You have
And I
to you
mean,
have to go off symptoms too. And it's like what we talked about the other day. There's a lot of people that get misdiagnosed with depression when really it's like hormone related, or
absolutely. Or
their
vitamin
diet,
D deficiency, or yeah.
right. Their micronutrient balance is
Mhm,
not right, and or even like their sodium levels, or like the
mhm.
hypertension, and there's just so much that goes into it. And if we would just stop and like take a second and breathe and listen to what our body is saying, like how are you feeling, how if you have swelling going on, like yes, like the medical side of it goes so far, but like you also have to be fueling your body correctly. I feel like everybody should be following more of a natural diet, and not
Mhm.
like we don't need this processed stuff. It's not good for us
Well, our
at
body
all.
doesn't know what to do with it, and so at
Right.
that point in time, it's a toxin. So, I think that's another thing. It's important to be an advocate of your entire lifestyle and really take the initiative to figure out, how does your body work? How does your body nourish itself?
Yep.
What do you need to eat to be able to nourish your body? Because I think a lot of people that are not kind of in the wellness or medical world, they don't kind of take that initiative a lot of times to kind of learn those basic things. But it's our body, it's our
Right.
body. We need to learn how it works. I mean, you wouldn't go and buy a car and not know what fuel that it needs, or how you're supposed to drive it, or you know what I mean. And so it's the same thing with our body. We have our body our whole lives, and it's actually up to us. Yes, there's medical professionals for very specialized things, but really at the end of the day, it's up to us. Our body is speaking to
Yep.
us. So it's up to us to really learn how it works. And, that's become like a big
Well,
passion of mine.
the sad part is people do more research about items they buy than they do about the human body. If everybody would just like sit and read and understand the physiology of the human body, I think we would be a lot better off.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And, I think it's important, because even if you have the best doctor and healthcare team on the planet, there's limitations. You're going and you're not
Yep.
spending days and weeks and months with them. You are spending a few minutes with them, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And, it
You
is
spend
going to,
every day, all day with yourself.
absolutely, it's going to be hard even for the best medical team to pick up every single thing that's going on. It's up to you. And, I think it's even more important for people that have children, because, as caregivers of our children, it's up to us until they're able to kind of figure it out on their own to kind of help guide them on
Oh,
how to do a lot of those things. And, I think that that's something that, a lot of people should really kind of think about.
well, it's our future. I mean, if you're not teaching them properly, that's their future health. You're not always going to be there to take care of them. So what we teach them is what they take for the rest of their life. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I really do try to teach my kids. And I a lot of times I hear people say to me, I couldn't do that, or, like follow the really strict diet or work out all the time. But honestly, I didn't think I'd ever be able to do it either. But when you find yourself so sick and you can't get out of the bed and you lay there, you don't care about things. You don't care about money. You don't care about anything else. All you want to do is move. And that's the saddest like realization, that No, but I just don't want anybody to ever have to face that, to be so sick that you can't get up and all you do is lay there and you just beg God to be able to move. You don't realize how moving your body is so good for you. And just 10 minutes of exercise can do what it just boosts your energy and your mood and the hormones that it releases in the brain, and it's I don't know, I just love it.
Well, and I think it's a big part of that is kind of changing the framework in our brain to not that I
Hmm.
have to eat like this. I
But you
have to
get
eat
to.
natural. Exactly. I have to.
Yeah.
But it's that you get to because, we have the opportunity to be able to move our body, especially, people that are, living in this country, we have a lot more opportunities to
Hmm.
go find places to work out, even as walking outside. We
Oh
have a lot
yeah.
more opportunities than, a lot of other places. But, I think it's important, again, to kind of take the initiative to kind of look and try to figure out, okay, well, what is my body trying to tell me? What is it that my body needs? And make sure that you are, giving it what it's needing. Now, before I kind of wrap this up, I didn't know, is there anything that you do want to share with people that are listening right now? If maybe they have had symptoms, maybe they've gone to, different medical professionals and they're kind of hitting this roadblock. Is there any, nugget of advice that you would give someone, whether it's, just internally how to kind of keep going forward or, kind of some step they could take to kind of move in the right direction, just based on
I
your
mean,
experience?
yeah, no. I mean, there's definitely been times that I just felt like, and I'm sure if my husband's here, he would agree with this, but like there's been times that I just felt like there was no hope and that I was like, I'm never going to figure this out and I'm never going to get my life back. And like, it just felt like everything was just falling apart around me. And it was just like, I felt like such a burden because the medical bills were so high and, I couldn't work, and it was just such a strain on the family. And it puts you in a really bad mental space. But listen, like, please just listen to yourself and like keep pushing, because that next doctor that you go to, it may be the one. That next test you get may be it. And do research, join support groups, talk to people, because there's rare conditions out there, don't get me wrong, but somebody somewhere has dealt with what you're going through, and there is help. Like, you just got to keep going. You can't quit. You can't.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and
Oh,
sharing
no
that
problem.
story. I
Thanks
think
for
that,
having me.
yeah, I think there's a lot of people that can get a lot of information from that. And, Nicole's right. If you're out there and you just feel like there's no hope, there is always hope. And again, thanks so
Always.
much for being on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.